Hi everyone, my name is Dennis and we are now in the Certified Language Center phase in Kirov, and my guest is Keith Watts.
Good evening.
EuroExam International representative in Russia, and our today's interview is going to be about the EuroExam International. What's that? Which parts does it have? What it's for you? How it can be useful for you? And so on. And I think our conversation will be really useful and interesting for you. Okay, Keith, glad to see you.
Nice to be here, thank you.
Yeah. Can you briefly introduce yourself and your role in EuroExam International?
Yes, my role is to manage the Euro exams right across the Russian Federation. My specific role is to conduct the exam, so for the spoken exam, I am the person the students speak to. For the written exam, I invigilate, so I make sure the students do the exams exactly as they would in a school or college across the UK. What I will stress, I am not the examiner, because the scripts and the audio recordings get marked by professional markers, by professional assessors back in the exam board.
Okay. What is EuroExam like in simple terms?
EuroExam is a large international English exam board. Many people would have heard of IELTS, Cambridge, Trinity, TOEFL, Pearson. And just like EuroExam International, they are one of the highly respected, internationally recognised English language exam boards.
Yeah, okay. Why does this exam even exist? What problems does it solve?
Well, one of the challenges is truly, firstly, international standards at English. So it's being able to check students, candidates against the international standards. That's the first challenge. The second challenge is to do it in a way that is friendly, approachable, and most importantly, trusted and independent.
Yeah, and what is this exam actually for?
Well, actually it's for students of English or users of English or non-native speakers. So this very much depends on the level. So EuroExam has exams for beginners, which are A1, right through to very competent users at C1. Now, why the student is taking the exam will vary depending on the level. So at higher levels, it might be to be recognised for a language course, for university, for college. This session, we have carried out exams for an air traffic controller because it's critical for their job. That's at the top end. At the beginner level, it's a target, it's something to aspire to. And those students that come up doing A1, A2, then B1, B2, they're also practicing skills which are fantastic for the Russian state exam as well. So it's giving them opportunities for life.
Yeah, and so for example, could you give us some real examples how can we use like certificate in real life, like entering the universities or some jobs and so on?
So for universities and colleges, the minimum requirement will be at B2 level. There are a significant number of universities, not just in Britain, but right across Europe, for example, who will look at B2 or quite often C1 as university-led entry-level qualifications. But that is for the international students. We've also got students here in Russia who are using those levels for summer school, summer camp, because they want independent proof of that student's ability, particularly with younger students who may be thriving. So you might have a student who is 12 and 13 who is already achieving B1, which is above standard.
Yeah. And what opportunities does it give, or does it open for people?
Again, it depends on the level, very much so.
Sure.
I think it's fair to say that at business and college, university and levels, then you are looking at B2 and C1. However, a bit like any sports, I play tennis. I would not, as a youngster, expected to have competed at a higher level tournament until I have done the base tournaments. And that gives me the experience, the broad knowledge, and really just the opportunities. And that's what A1 and A2 give.
Yeah. And so who should seriously consider taking this exam? Like
anyone who is using English right from the earliest age. In a couple of days' time, I am flying off to another city, and there I'll be meeting a student who at the age of 4.5 did A1 in the spoken exam. Already she is now 7, is doing A2 at both written level. She's already taken A2 at spoken level. So for her, it is a way of aiming for something. It's something to try to achieve. And then by the time she gets to 12, 13, she will already be at something like EGR level of language.
Let's talk about like comparison with IELTC and TOEFL. How does EuroExam compare to it?
Very similar. And the reason is all the top international English exams, for example, as I said, Trinity, Pearson, Cambridge, IELTS, EuroExam International, all are aligned with the common European framework of reference. So the skills and the judging level is very, very similar on all of them. The difference is sometimes slightly in the tasks or how we approach the exams, because we believe the students should very much achieve their best, and you do that by encouraging them.
I have a really interesting question for you. In which cases would you not recommend EuroExam?
I can't think of any, to be honest, because it is an opportunity to show the levels. It is conducted very friendly. So even for the student maybe who doesn't achieve a pass, and there is no guarantee, we measure performance down against standards. So even a student who doesn't achieve a pass, hopefully they will leave with a good experience and then know what they have to focus on in the future. So I would say, not just for any learner, but anyone who wants to prove to themselves their ability.
Yeah. Is it a good choice, like for example, like for immigration or top universities? What's your opinion?
For immigration, generally what happens now, and there is a different procedure now in Britain, most universities will set a benchmark level of IELTS, maybe anything between 7.5 and 8.5. However, the universities now in Britain are being encouraged to do face-to-face or online interviews with the students. So they will look at any equivalent exam at that level. So in EuroExam's case, it will either be a high-level B2 or C1 pass. And then the students themselves will be interviewed by the university, and that meets the UK Foreign Office and Home Office educational requirements.
So let's talk about like exam in details.
Yes.
Like what are the main parts of the exam?
Each exam has, and this is one of the differences between EuroExam and many of the competitors, because EuroExam does allow a student to take the spoken exam separately from a written exam. And the written exam covers listening, reading and writing. The spoken exam, as the name implies, is spoken. So we've got the 4 key skills there: speaking, listening, reading and writing. But they can, and indeed here at Kirov, some of the students might take speaking this time, but wait until December maybe to do the same level in writing. So they're the 4 key skills. And if you wish, I can break that down for you. I have like an interesting, another question, like what makes EuroExam different from the other exams? The key difference I've just touched on, and that's an ability to take speaking separately from listening, reading and writing. Most of the other exams insist you take it all as a block. Now the problem with taking it all as a block, and particularly you'll notice from young children, speaking skills tend to develop quicker than writing skills. And I've just met a little girl here who was 4.5. Our youngest student to take the exams, A1, she took speaking because at 4.5 you would not expect a child to be able to do a written exam. So the big difference, without going into the minutiae, the tiny detail, is they're able to take each exam separately.
Yeah, and so the bottom line is that like EuroExam is like more practical than academic, yeah?
Absolutely.
Like approach, yeah?
And English as a language is more practical than academic. Yes, in the higher levels, B2 and C1, there is academic writing skills. Absolutely, there has to be to meet university requirements. But language is about using it. It's about talking.
Yeah, yeah, completely. Totally agree with you. So you've seen like hundreds and thousands like candidates, and so of course you know. So what are the common mistakes candidates make the most?
I think the common mistakes fit into two areas. Now you might expect me to say grammar. No, we are testing an ability to use the English language. So I think one of the biggest mistakes students will make is to worry too much about grammar. And it's driven by the teachers there. They think, oh, we've made a grammatical mistake. Now I know this is being recorded. You are going to do a transcript.
Yeah.
You'll find lots of grammatical mistakes in what I'm saying, I'm sure. We make grammatical mistakes. So students tend to worry too much. It's about grammar. It's not. It's about the broad spectrum.
Yeah.
And the other one connected with that is, and this has to be a teenage boy thing, it's particularly the spoken exam, it's not speaking enough. Because we are judging an ability to speak. And anyone who's got teenage boys in any country, if you were to say, what did you do at school today? They go, nothing. And that's just the nature of teenage boys. Totally. So the biggest mistake really is to be too nervous and then maybe not speak enough for the spoken exams.
And why do candidates with a good English still fail? So is there like a reason? No?
Actually, I would say those with good English don't fail.
Wow.
Because we are looking at the broad spectrum. We are looking at, if we're talking about the spoken exam, for example, it's fluency, pronunciation. Is the language logical? And does it use connecting language? Yeah. It's about pronunciation. It's not about accent. I have a London accent. Yeah. You, of course, speak English with a combination of a Russian and slightly American accent.
Yeah, yes, slightly American, yeah.
Exactly,
good
but it's
one,
all understandable. Yeah. So we're not worried about accents. So sometimes we find teachers too worried about accents.
Yeah.
And of course, there's a big difference between pronunciation. For example, clothes, it should be clothes, as you and I both know. Yeah. And whether you are speaking it with a Russian accent or indeed, if you go to the north of England, even a Scottish accent.
Absolutely, yeah. And what do examiners notice immediately? Can you notice something?
That's a really good question. And I'll be honest, I don't really know the answer because I'm not an examiner. The examiners are very highly trained. An important thing to realise is an examiner might be listening to an exam, if it's spoken, recorded in Russia on 1 minute. The next ones might have been recorded in Peru or Chile or other parts of Asia. So the examiners are picking up different, if you like, accents and different challenges from wherever they are listening to, because it's important to realise EuroExam is not just in Russia, it's right across Europe, right across South America, so it is truly international.
Yeah. So we just mentioned some points in previous discussion, but let's speak in a few words about speaking part of the exam. What is the biggest mistake in the speaking part? Do not list, not to do it for me as a candidate.
The biggest mistake is not to speak. It is and I know this sounds very silly, but this is a spoken exam. We want candidates to speak. It doesn't matter if they make mistakes. We want them to speak. Yeah. So the biggest mistake is sometimes, as I said earlier, being worried about making mistakes and therefore the students do not speak. Yeah. It doesn't happen very often in Russia. And the reason is that most Russian students are both exceedingly well prepared, and the teachers are conservative about the levels they put them in. So if a child is bordering on B2, in Russia often they will be put into B1 level.
Yeah.
Because, as we say in English, nothing succeeds like success.
Yeah.
So given the opportunity to do well, pass, it's great for the school, it's great for the students' motivation, they come back and they want to keep learning. So thinking about an earlier question, what do the examiners notice most about Russia? How good the kids are, for that very reason.
So, like, of course, we just mentioned about it, like, but so there's, like, let's speak one more time. So, if you can compare, like, grammar and confidence, like, what is more important? I know that it's, like, not correct, like, type of question, but just let's pretend, like, grammar or confidence, like, what would you pick?
Confidence.
Confidence.
Absolutely,
yeah. Absolute
confidence.
confidence, yeah.
Yes. And let me give you an example.
Okay.
If I were to say to you, and I'm going to stop there,
Yeah.
and now that grammatically I made sure was perfectly correct. How long could you listen to me? It would drive you mad.
Yeah.
So I suppose the most important is to a degree confidence and fluency, although actually when they're marked, everything is marked at an equal level.
Yeah. Okay. Let's talk like a little bit about preparation, like
Yes.
process. It's really important, like for our viewers, of course. And let's pretend like B1 level. How
Yes.
long does it really takes to prepare for the B1 level?
For the actual exam or
Yeah.
to get to B1 level?
I think about exam levels.
For the
Let's
exam,
specify.
put it this way. The exam tasks are those tasks found in any good exam book. Every exam session, I will have at least one student who has done no preparation at all. I might get a chance to speak to them for 2 minutes and say, this is what the tasks are, but because the tasks are very recognisable from what they are doing when they are learning, exam preparation is really as minimal. The key thing is, can they use language at that level? And that's what's critically important.
Yeah. And how do you think, like, can people, like, someone prepare on their own, or they need guidance? Like, well, it depends on the people. We cannot, like just come on, like, so it's always about details. Like,
It is.
specific,
The key thing is, with speaking, it's like I play tennis.
Yeah.
And it's like playing tennis. I could be hitting against a ball machine. In other words, I could prepare on my own. Does that really prepare me for a match? I would argue not. And it's the same with speaking.
Yeah.
So, do they need a school? Possibly not. But do they need a speaking club? Do they need other people to speak with? Absolutely, if they're doing a spoken exam. It's all about being able to think and respond in English. So possibly coming back to one of your earlier questions, for what do the students need to do for the exam? Think of it again like a tennis match. I wouldn't play a match without warming up.
Of course, of course.
And it is fantastic when when students get together before a spoken exam and talk to each other in English. They're warming up, they're getting their brain thinking in English. Just the same as probably now, we met an hour and a half ago. You are probably finding me easier to understand now than you did an hour and a half ago. So it is practicing and warming up beforehand.
Yeah. So, like, in a few words, could you give, like, us what is the most effective way to prepare? Could you give some, like, top 3 advice?
Okay, top 3. If it's the first spoken exam, the spoken exam has 4 parts. There are general interview questions, and these are the type of questions your teacher will ask you at school or in a language club. That's easy. Task 2 is actually a story. In other words, it's the ability to speak continuously. What I would do, and that is timed, so at A1 and A2 it's 1 minute, B1 1.5 minutes, and B2 and effectively C1 it's 2 minutes. So first bit of advice is, if you're working with students, use your phone to time them, to stopwatch it. Secondly, use your phone to record them. Because for some people, students, having a microphone placed in front of them, because we do, because the exams are recorded, I don't mark them, that is scary. But if at every lesson they are used to being recorded, hey, they don't bother about it. So that's probably number 2, is firstly to know how long they need to speak for. Secondly, to do it in front of a microphone, practice that. And thirdly, and probably lastly, is get the kids to talk to each other before the exams. Get them to have a chat, just as we're doing now.
Yeah. And how important it is to prepare with a certified center? What can you say?
I think what is more important is to have really strong and enthusiastic teachers. So I know here in Kirov, Natalia and her team are those enthusiastic teachers and also teachers who focus on the communicative side of language. And the story of this, and I will not name names for obvious reasons, but I've known students, they start to speak, I were going, and immediately the teacher jumps in, no, I was going.
Yeah.
So this child is immediately thinking, should I speak? I might make a mistake. You've got to let the students make mistakes.
Yeah.
Let's face it, if someone's got a young child and that very young child starts speaking Russian for its first 5 or 6 words, you don't care if there's grammatical mistakes.
Absolutely.
So it's about encouragement and having a school like this which encourages those students, but also a school which is confident enough that encourages their students to sit an international exam. Because Natalia and her team might be saying your kid is able to do B1. It's only external assessment that proves it and proves the value for money, because the parents are paying for this education. They've got to be confident they're getting value for money.
And what advantages do students get when they are preparing locally? What do you think?
Oh, the big advantage, if the school is somewhere like this, is confidence.
Confidence.
Yeah, it's both confidence and believing what they're doing is correct.
Yeah. As far as I understand, the only place where I can take this exam in Kirov, like, is a language center of FACE, yeah? Where
Yes,
we are
that's
now.
correct.
Why
Yes.
is it that important? Like, what do you think? What's your opinion?
Partly it's because I conduct exams right across the Russian Federation. And the ability to come to one school that is very well prepared, is structurally well set up to conduct the exams, has the right facilities for conducting the exams, and indeed has a way of encouraging the students, is absolutely vitally important for us as representatives of EuroExam International.
So, okay, let's talk about like some insider view. Like, can you tell us like how our exams are actually checked?
They are checked by, and there's 2 parts. The spoken exams, as I said, they get recorded. I upload those to a secure site with EuroExam, and then they have their fully trained and assessed assessors who actually listen to the recording. They're either single or double marked, depending whether it's a borderline case. If it's borderline case, it might be double marked to be able to assess it. And the spoken exam is assessed as a complete exam. So that simply means, to use an English colloquialism, if a student louses up or makes a mess of one part, it's not disaster, because they are being judged as a complete exam. For the written exam, the scripts go to the exam board. The exam board's got 2 offices, one in London, one in Budapest. It depends whichever is most convenient for me when I'm travelling back from Russia. So the scripts, at the end of each exam, they go into a sealed grey bag. I never see them. I collect them up, seal them in a grey bag. They get delivered to one of the EuroExam offices where they get scanned. And then the examiners, so clearly for the written exam, that has to be read and assessed. You cannot do that by computer, particularly with the different styles of handwriting from all over the world. So that is assessed by individuals. The listening and reading marks, which are multiple choice, In theory, they are able to be scanned by computer.
Yeah.
The trouble is, kids are kids, and they cross things out and they have to change things, so that still needs to be manually checked, again by trained assessors.
Yeah. Let's talk about like grading. Is there any subjectivity in grading or not?
No, it's very much objective. In other words, reading and writing, reading and listening, that's very easy. It's multiple choice, it's either the right box ticked or not. For the written exams, it's marked against a very strict international criteria, and that criteria has to be assessed by the international bodies. So the examiners know exactly what they are looking for. They know what, and again, it is level dependent. So of course, what you're looking for at A1 will be very different from what you're looking at C1.
Yeah. Okay. So let's imagine that I'm trying to pass the exam like on the first try.
Yep.
What are your top 3 tips for me?
Are we thinking here spoken or written?
Well, let's pretend written like this.
Okay, written. The first thing is to be working at or beyond that level. And what I mean on that is any textbook you go and buy will be based around, any good textbook will be based around one of the common European framework of reference levels. Now you might say, well, what topics does EuroExam cover? You only need to buy a good book by someone like Pearson or Macmillan, and you'll buy a book at B1. And whatever's in the B1 book will have topics that we will use in the exam, plus anything at A1 and A2, of course. But what I would say is you will be ready for a B1 exam when you have finished that book. Yeah. I have seen schools making mistakes, saying, a student's now working on a B1 book, they're that far into it, they must be doing B1. It's probably too early in their language development to do that. Yeah. So make sure you are competent and confident to do, you're not going to get it all right, of course you're not. Even I probably wouldn't. So make sure you are confident at working at that level prior to doing the exam. And I have to say this is critically important, work with a good school like this. They will be able to judge your language levels from the tasks they set you.
Yeah. And what is let's check one thing that candidate must avoid, not should, but must avoid. What could you say about that? From all your experience, and so on.
I would not say must avoid, but must do. Read the question. And that actually, strangely enough, I teach in a school in the UK. And it doesn't matter if it's maths, physics, English or chemistry. Yeah. We still have students that are failing because they don't read the question. And so if there's anything they must do, is that. Make sure they read the question and then read the question again before answering it. Yeah.
So if someone is still unsure, what would you tell him or her?
Sorry, can you rephrase that for me?
For example, if someone, some candidates who is not sure, should I take this exam or not? I have some questions and so on. What can you tell me, in this case?
Well, I play tennis. Do I expect to win every single tennis match?
Of course no.
Of course not. And to a degree, what is the worst that's going to happen to you if you fail?
Nothing.
The good news is you will get your marks back, and those marks back will be split between reading, listening, writing, and possibly spoken as well if you've done a spoken exam. What it will do, even if you don't pass, it maybe will highlight your weaknesses as well as your strengths. And we do get students that maybe fail. They may have got 80% in reading, they may have got 75% in writing, but their listening, maybe they've got 45%. That is telling them as well, it is still a learning point, just like me losing a tennis match. Yeah. It's still a learning point to say, right, you really need to go away and work now on your listening skills. And having that independent assessment highlights it. So actually, even not passing is useful.
So, and my final question is, it's going to sound like, why now is a good time to take the EuroExam?
It depends on your student. And what I mean on that, many students will say, oh, let's put it off till Christmas, let's put it off till next year.
Yeah.
Have a go. There is no time like the present to have a go, see where you are, try something. If you don't get it, it's not a disaster. If you do, it's fantastic. You are proving something to yourself. But even if you don't pass, you are still proving something to yourself. It's setting you a direction, a target. So don't put it off. But what I would say also is don't be over-optimistic.
Yeah.
If you think, oh, I'm definitely B2, maybe do B1. Get some practice, get some skills, be reassured where your levels are. You can come back and do B2 next year.
Yeah.
We'll be here.
Thank you, Keith, for this lovely conversation.
It's been my pleasure, and thank you so much.
My pleasure too. And thank you guys for watching. It's been a really interesting interview for all of us, and I'm pretty sure that Keith made a lot of interesting and useful advices, and some inside information about the EuroExam. And my advice for you is gonna be it's never too late. Yeah,
absolutely.
It's never too late. And if you want to pass the EuroExam, you know where to go. Thank you for watching, and see you next time.
Thank you.